Hello, hello, my green skins. This will be a little different for me because I usually don't do this in depth, but for an anime series like this, I have to kind of tip the hat. Record of Lotus Wars. And where do we start with Record of Lotus Wars? I hate to say it, we start with Dungeons and Dragons of all things. And Record of Lotus Wars is an interesting series in a lot of ways. I will be discussing it. We'll be doing a quick review. And then I will be doing my rating for it as it stands. But we have to do a discussion first. There has to be. And this is going to be a rather deep discussion. So I hope you guys like listening to my voice and the other voices that pop on. If this all works, we'll have a multiple review form with quite a few people from the backlog of my horde here. They'll be coming and making a guest appearance. We'll see how it goes. First, let's talk about the discussion. The discussion of D&D in Japan. Now, I asked on X if people wanted to discuss their kind of stories about D&D, kind of tell me how they felt about it back in the day and kind of give me information. Didn't go so well, but from what I've read and from what I've seen, Dungeons and Dragons was extremely popular in Japan. More popular than people think, and the second edition game set was where that popularity came from. And it was a massive, very popular franchise that had a lot of really good outpouring. To the point that when they started making second books and when Record of Lotus War was coming out, they had a live reading of Record of Lotus War. Like this literally, anime in a way helped D&D, and D&D in a way helped anime. I'll be showing some imagery of the D&D artwork that was specially made for Japan. It really did grow in 1986. And this is the thing. As much as D&D helped Record of Lotus War changed shit for everything else. Like video games themselves, the attitude, the art style, the characters. They even had Record of Lotus War video games. Like this is a... As much as I like to say D&D shaped this, D&D helped it grow. Even to the point that Dungeons and Dragons literally has one of the characters is basically the frickin' Elf D. in their D&D arcade game, which was extremely popular in Japan as well. So this stuff really did grow, and it really did expand into a greater library. It had gone better than most people thought, and it was an extremely popular show. And then eventually, like, the novel series was very popular, and the manga, and then the show. And then I believe the manga came out first before the show. I might be wrong on that one. But from what I was reading and talking to people, in my own personal memory, I remember the series manga, the group that was the American distributing company that was dubbing stuff. I believe they were the ones that did Berserk. If I remember correctly, Dragon Ball originally. And a couple others were their brainchild. And they kind of pushed this stuff out and hit the markets. They were the same guys who released Akira and Ghost in the Shell, Appleseed. It was quite a large collection of stuff that this company did. And, this was the awakening for anime in America. Was right around this time. Now, I can't say that it was the source, the crowning source. That has to go to, our R.I.P., one of the greatest mans out there, Toriyama, but and his work with the Dragon Ball Z, Berserk, Sailor Moon was definitely a big one on that one. But this was there at the time, and this grew up. Gundam would be another one. I can't deny Gundam's power in the market. But this was up there, and this was extremely popular and had a pretty good grouping of people. My own personal experience to this is a little different, though. My personal experience to this was on a VHS tape that was given to me that was a pirated 6-hour VHS tape that someone gave to me that was pirated from a rental store. Someone copied it and gave me the tape. And the tape was the tape was 6 hour. I had like a little bit of everything on it. So I had all these fantasy animes at the time. I had Berserk, I had Record, I had like it would be an episode of this, an episode of that, then an episode of this, an episode of this, episode of that, episode of this. And it was like whatever this guy would get his hands on. And it was English, Japanese, with subtitles, and some of them without even subtitles at all. I don't know where he got those. But this guy was giving me all this random stuff. And it was kind of funny. I'd have to kind of skip. But I'd have to like skip to get to the ones I wanted. But I was a big fan of Slayers. And Slayers to me was I still think Slayers is that's my own personal nostalgia beast. And we will be talking about Slayers next coming up. But Record definitely helped shape. This in some ways, the trends you saw in Japan came from D&D, and then vice versa came from Record, and then Record moved on to affecting video games. Same with Slayers. Both there are 3 series I can honestly say had that type of hand. And those 3 series are as follows. Record of Lotus Wars, Sorcerer, Stabler, Orphan, Slayers. Now, Berserk is on there, but Berserk kind of was on the outliner. It was more of that adult anime, but these were the animes that kind of catch their hit. It's sort of like saying Naruto was that Naruto and One Piece. You can't deny that these were the creators of the shonen craze. Like, you don't have My Hero Academia without these other series. Like, I know Fist was the one that brought it here, but let's be honest. I think anime would not be as popular if it wasn't for some little blonde kid with orange, wearing the worst camouflage on the planet, running around with an emo kid and a girl with pink hair. Let's be honest. You wouldn't have the shonen craze we have now. Same goes with One Piece. If you didn't have One Piece, you wouldn't have the shonen craze. I still think anime would be more of a lesser stint if it wasn't for these animes. And I would say that would be the same thing with the popularity of Record. In a lot of ways, Record helped bring more fantasy to the forefront. And it is I believe it's also one of the ones, I think it's one of the few series that's been premiered in at least more than one TRPG too. I can't remember how many TRPGs, like tabletop games, has had that type of thing. Like, I can't think of any. Like, I think it's Slayers through Big Eyes, Slayers, Record, and one, I think Orphan, have all either appeared for D&D, appeared for Record. Record has been seen in Heavy Metal magazine. So is Slayers. Orphan has as well. This stuff has moved around and has actually had a major thing. So I can't deny that this little show with actually very little episodes, if you consider the OVA being actually kind of small, has touched a lot of places. Like, this was on the Sci-Fi Channel, for fuck's sakes. Record of Lotus War. This has been there. So this is one of those shows I had to put the effort in to actually discuss how much importance this show has. And I normally wouldn't do that. I just kind of go right into it. But I can't deny that this show has had a major push in a lot of ways. And it wasn't until later in life that I actually was able to really sit down and enjoy it in its entirety. But it was a good show. I like it. There are a few things I don't like, but I like it, and I think it's a really good show. And next, we're going to get to the review. And if all goes well, you'll be hearing my voice with other people. If it doesn't, then things didn't go well, and I'll be running it by myself. We'll see how this goes. Hello, hello, my green skins. And we're back now after that little intro. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I have with me a couple people who enjoyed the series. We have ourselves, from the Horde, we have ourselves a Nessie.
Yo.
And we have ourselves a Dark Prince Alibaba.
Sup?
And we're gonna be doing the actual review now. Now, I apologize for the little D&D crux, but I had to bring it up because the more I did research on record, and I knew I had to give this thing its serious pass because this was a series that, although now pretty much forgotten by a lot of the newer fans, this was up there. Like, this is, again, there are the ones I can think of. I know there are more popular and influential animes out there that a lot of people would go, well, Speed Racer. No, a few people knew about Speed Racer. Robotech, yes, people knew about Robotech back in the late 80s. But when anime started building its peak, these were the animes that people were watching. And I would say that this series definitely had its hand in it. And then we're going to be talking about the OVA only. There are, I believe, 4 series, if I remember correctly, and 2 movies. If I remember correctly, I believe there's this one, then there's the second, the White Knight series, then there's the series after that. So,
Chronicles of the Heroic Knight, which...
Yeah.
If you're going to watch Chronicles of the Heroic Knight, my experience with it is so far removed from the original series. Like, it's almost its own thing. Because it does not go with the continuity. It doesn't, there's no continuity between the two.
And then you have the series after that where it has the, which I'm not going to be showing much this. You're just going to see flash pages of record for this point. There's a continuation series with the I can't remember. They travel to some serpent. Yeah, no, there's a serpent pass one. There's one where everyone could transform into animals or something like that.
I don't know anything about that one. I don't think I've even ever heard of that.
It's based off Records of Lotus War. I just can't remember. It's actually a whole story about they traveled to a certain area, found themselves to a secret area where the gods sealed themselves off. That story arc. It's pretty much.
But we're rambling.
Yeah, we are rambling. So we're going to break down the Record of Lotus War. I believe this be called the Grey Witch Saga, aka which has a couple big arcs. And we're going to start with a little bit different today. We're going with voice acting first because, yikes. This one has some interesting voice acting. It's, again, keep in mind, this came out in 1980. I think it was 1991, or I can't remember when it actually hit its mark. It was 1990. Voice acting back then was hit and miss. And I don't hate anybody who's doing the voice acting for this. I don't think they did a bad job.
I like to call it utilitarian voice acting because it was a lot of transferring it over from Japanese to English. They were trying to capitalize on the quickly rising nerd culture here. And I feel like they were trying to just rush it out. They weren't really worried about the quality of the dub. They were just wanting to give people a dub, if that makes sense. That's how I feel, anyway.
Yeah, it feels very similar to some of the old anime movies and stuff from the 80s and 90s that had that moment where it was bad. Lip syncing is even fucking worse, but we'll get to that in animation. It's not great, but no. It is good. It has its moments of good. Like, they are trying. And the funny thing is, a lot of the voice actors that went on to this one moved on to other animes and actually got more fame for what it was in the 90s. So that being said,
thus they improved.
Well, as a trained actress, the first and most egregious sin out of the characters is the lead, Parn. I feel like his voice acting was by far the worst. If you're going to be the lead, you need to lead. And I'm sorry,
Well,
man. Your vocals for it were. You sounded
he
bored
did.
with every line delivery.
He did try. He did try. There's quite a few times he tried. Like I've watched it recently, and he has actually put the effort.
I think
And
the further he got in, the more effort he put in. But in the
yeah,
very beginning, it was so like there's a scene there where they have him try to
lackadaisy.
sound like a little boy, and he goes
Mhm.
Papa, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely horrible.
hmm hmm Yeah, there are moments in this. There are some real bad moments in this. And this is actually where I kind of find it amusing and I'm like, ooh. But yeah, it has its moments. Unfortunately, like I said, there is like one or two people that really throw themselves into it. Otherwise, it's very lackluster. Next, we're going to go to animation. Animation to this is again hit or miss. This is an error. I'll actually say this. The funny thing is, this OVA looks way sharper than the actual TV series that they got, which was 48 episodes. You said, Dark?
27 episodes.
It had a
20. Yeah,
realism to it that a
yeah,
lot of anime today don't have. A lot of anime today aren't hand drawn anymore. They're done through computer cells instead of
yeah,
in paint, and
yeah,
it doesn't have that polished, shiny look of the new anime. It's very rough, very rugged, very 80s,
yeah, and
and very
it
much
does.
a product of its time. But
Yeah,
the character designs are gorgeous. The
hit and
outfits
miss.
are absolutely what you expect for an 80s fantasy. And the animation, sometimes they do still shots, which saves on the animation budget. But
More
honestly,
than that, they actually do double characters. You see a lot of that aspect to that. Like they really do fucking throw this in to the point that in some of the episodes there's scenes where the monsters are killing a person and it's like this is supposed to be a different army with different armor, yet they're wearing the same armor as the goblin that just fucking stabbed the guy to death like fucking 10 minutes ago, and this isn't the same
well, yeah,
fucking
but
episode.
you could argue if you really wanted to get into semantics or into technicalities, you could argue that maybe those goblins stole the armor from some of the previous
No, no, no,
victims.
no, no,
So,
no, 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 no. The people that they're murdering are wearing the exact same armor and it's supposed to be a different army.
oh, I gotcha.
Watch. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. No, it's different, and
whatever
it's supposed to be
happened,
a.
maybe time
It's supposed.
constraints, maybe the certain scenes were done on time. I don't know, but in terms of the overall aesthetic, I think this is a great looking show. It's being an OVA and
Oh
obviously has a
yeah,
higher budget than a TV show, and
yeah,
the character designs are awesome. And I like the
hmm
shading. That I think that's one of its
yeah,
strong points. Shading is amazing.
yeah. You are right. You are right. We're just nitpicking. I know I'm nitpicking something that is quite good. Like even when I watched because I've watched both series. Like I've decided to, and this is why I decided to separate it because I had watched both series. Like even the redhead girl who kind of plays more of an important role in later stuff. She has little white linings on her skirt,
well, she's
and
called
then it
Shiras. She's called Shiras, but I looked up
cheers.
her
Yeah,
name and it's actually like shirts, but it's
yeah,
Shiras. I don't I
yeah,
don't I think that's just the English to Japanese, Japanese to English
yeah,
translation issues. But anyway,
yeah, yeah. And like I said, it was funny because that's supposed to be the Muslim army or the not the Middle Eastern army. The Middle Eastern army guy is like Hazelnut or Chestnut, I believe is his name, and it transferred over, and it's like, what the fuck? But that is moments in this series that we're gonna have to talk about later. But it is over the top. It is edgy 80s over the top. Like even the horse has fucking shoulder guards for fuck's sakes.
And
Yeah,
I like the character designs. I like that the characters have they don't just draw plain faces. They put some
no,
lines everywhere to indicate
and
some details of age or and stuff like
yep.
that.
each
hmm
character looks individual. Like one thing that a lot of the anime are falling into today, where character design is concerned, is there's a lot of same face syndrome. And for those of you who don't know what same face syndrome is, it's basically if you remove the hair color and the eye color and just have the face, no hair or anything.
That's it. And real simple. Have you watched Ruby?
I was thinking more like
careful! You're gonna get the Ruby fans mad at you. Careful.
No, you.
I don't care. They're not going to exist in 4 months. Who gives a fuck?
But seriously, with same face syndrome, if you take the character, you remove all color and hairstyle, and just have the face as is, and you can't tell them apart from other characters in the show. Now, I'm not going to say that early anime didn't suffer from that either. I mean, there are some Gundam animes, for example, that suffer from same face. DBZ suffers a lot from same face. You can hate me for that all you want, but it's true. If you look at Vegeta versus Goku and you take their hair off, they're basically the same. And that's...
he has actually shaped the face. Like Vegeta's face is a little more sharper on the extension to it, but you are right. It does. The top part is definitely
if they're frowning.
Anyway, what are you saying?
If they're frowning, Vegeta, Goku, Gohan, Yamcha, they all have the same face when they're frowning.
It's all interchangeable, and I understand. Like, I'm no hate against the great late Toriyama. I think he was a master of his trade. What I'm saying is it's something that happens unintentionally. Every artist, I think Dark Prince Alibaba can testify to this too. Every artist kind of has a style that carries over into their characters. Yeah. And sometimes the more characters you draw, the more that style begins to repeat accidentally. So I'm not saying that what he did was wrong, or I'm not hating on him at all. So don't come at me for that, because I'm not.
No, we're not. Yeah, there's no hate to the late great. Like I've said, he's the one that launched anime into America. Everyone can say, oh, no one else did. Like, he was the premier. It's not that it became. He launched the boat. Naruto and other Shonen Jump series kind of shot that flag in the Shonen verse and made it more popular. So now let's get to ourselves the music and the sound effects.
Oh, the music was. In some places, the music was amazing, and in other places, it was confusing.
Stock. Yeah,
like,
the opening.
We'll go with the opening song.
That fucking opening. You have this
so soft and slow, and it's not what you're expecting. And it's a love song. If you look at the lyrics, it's a love song, and it doesn't really fit because if you look at our lead characters in the show. Deedlit and Parn, the lead romantic couple, they have, and I'm sorry, they have no chemistry. It was something something Dark Alibaba and I talked about a lot when we watched it together. They have no chemistry, none, and their romance seems to just come out of nowhere.
Okay, we'll talk about that later in the story arc.
The music. Yeah. But that's why it feels weird, is because for the primary part of the show, you're expecting a more action-filled or maybe even fantasy-sounding soundtrack, and instead you get almost like this Latin-sounding love ballad, and it's very strange.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And again, you are right. It doesn't make sense. And it's funny because it leads off on this big epic battle moment where it's showing murals of of all these gods fucking dying, and they create an island, and then it jumps right to a fucking love ballad.
And to be fair, the music there during the intro shows the heavy weight of the narration of what happened between the gods.
Yeah,
and then you go from this awesome, empowering score of doom and gloom into this lighthearted little la 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 la, and you're like, what the? You know what I mean?
No, I know. We could. That's the funny thing. You can actually just do an entire little small video on the fucking opening alone, and just talk about how weird. Look, if you're gonna do a fucking long, go ahead.
Whatever you might say about the music, nothing is more jarring than the opening of Kenshin. You know, it starts with this awesome followed by la 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 la.
Yeah, well, okay, that's great, but we're not talking about
Hate
Kenshin.
so much.
Yeah, we're not talking about Kenshin. But if we're gonna go off track, if you're gonna do a love ballad in your fucking song at the beginning, you have to do it like fucking Fist of the North Star.
Oh yeah.
That entire song is a love ballad. If you hear the English opening, it's about get out of my way. I want to bang my girlfriend. My girlfriend's waiting. You get in
Okay,
my way, I'm going to kick your ass. That's
so
that's the fucking song. But we're not going to get into that. Let's get
the
into the music
opening
more further.
song, the opening song is called "Sea of Miracles," I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
And its lyrics are very let's see. Oh no, that's not even the song that's wow. Okay, they didn't, so they must have different versions of the song for like OVA versus
Yeah. Yes, they do.
because that is not the one that I saw or I heard. Because the one that I heard was like talking about how the way that you do this and this and that and
Yeah. That is the English version, and I don't know if that's. I'm not 100% sure. On the research I read, that song's what pops up 90% of the time. But here's the thing about that. Like we've just argued about that, but there are moments where that actually there's either moments where there's no real music, there's a sting of music, but then they have moments like that opening bardic song when they go to meet the king for the first time, and the bard comes down and sings the Song of Heroes. That is fucking amazing.
so
With the world building.
the English lyrics of what will pop up 90% of the time is the way that you embrace me with your strong and powerful arms, your haunting words keep me close to everything about you. Romantic in ways that almost tear upon my heart. Can't let you go, don't you know? And then it has Io sono prigioniero or prigioniera, a captive in your gentle hands, a prisoner of your. Do you see how this does not go with the?
Yes. But when they get it right, they get it right. I totally agree with you. But
The one that is sung at the bard comes in, like you said, and sings one at the banquet.
Yeah.
And it is appropriate. They do not translate it.
No, they don't. And I've looked at the translation, and it's a world building. It's complete and utter fucking world building, and it's so well fucking done, and it works for what it is. When they play a lot of the sting, a lot of this thing is this: it's sting after sting after sting. It's usually a cut. Like you'll get some like it's not. I hate to say it, the series that I thought really did music great, as much as I don't like the series, is the Dot Hack series. Had some really good music in it. And I think series like this is one of those series that had either hit and miss music. Now I can't 100% remember. This tells you how bad it's a bad sign. I can't remember the second story arc, like the actual TV show. I can't remember the music to that. That's usually a bad sign. But again, comparative to what exists now, it gets blown out of the water. But for back then, this was really good. This wasn't Slayer's good. Slayer's had better music, fucking by far. Orphan had better music by far. But when the music works, it works. Now the main reason to talk about this series, although a little rushed, is the story. So the story for this is the hero's journey. And it is a hero. It is the hero Parm, who becomes the knight of the Parm. I call him Parm.
Arn, with an N.
I hate the name. I even every once in a while, even the voice acting. Okay, even the voice actors hate the name because I keep hearing harm. They'll be shouting harm.
Yeah. Deed.
The voice acting.
How do you not remember them?
I see. That's the thing. I don't remember because they're so insane. Like Chestnut and Hazelnut, for fuck's sakes.
Like so when Dark Prince and I were watching it, we made the joke of like a drinking game, take a shot whenever Deedlit and Parn say each other's names. And it's like, no, you can't do that. You'd be dead in the first like 20 minutes.
No, they're not. They're not. They're not Inuyasha bad. Come on, this isn't Kagome.
Okay,
Inuyasha.
that's fair.
Kagome!
It is not Inuyasha bad, but it is by far like it's up there. It is up there.
Yeah. And later episodes, when they're really starting to build a romance for those two characters, it and like I keep making a joke. This is where the idea that all female elves are horny as fuck came from. I swear to God.
But I mean, what a finale to that journey, though. I mean, seriously, if you look at the end of his journey, he starts out as this unsure guy who's trying to prove himself in the eyes of the people around him because of his father, which that's kind of a spoiler. So I'm not getting into it, but
this isn't old enough. This is an old enough anime. It is.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So his father's been kind of deemed a traitor, and there's a whole story about that. How he basically had to pretend to be a traitor to save the life of the infant princess at the time, and so he became a discredited knight. And then you have Parn, who is trying to both protect his father's legacy and live up to his father's legacy and show them that he too can be a warrior, but he starts out, not even like knowing how to defend himself. He can barely wield a sword. But,
let alone fight with one. Yeah, and it is a epic battle. And through that they meet their little friends. Like at first there's a dwarf. Dwarf, a mage. Yeah, the mage slain.
Yeah. Jim, Slade, and Woodchuck, and then you have the little priest. What's his name again?
No. The Woodchuck doesn't come until a little bit after that.
That's true.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember the priest's name. It's because he disappears halfway through the Jewish priest, as my friend called it.
I think it's funny that the princess seems to develop a thing for him, and he just doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to do with it because he's like, well, I'm a priest. I kind of like that. Is actually a funny thing about that costume with that character. He has a little bit of everything in it. Like it's clear that's a Japanese person. Like they're trying to do a Vestal priest, and it's a little bit of everything. It has the Catholic robes. It has like several things that fundamentally are from different versions of the Abrahamic religion. They're all melded together in this weird combination.
But anyway, but Parn goes from this unsure boy who's trying to prove himself to someone who masters the sword. And a lot of that is through the help of Gim, who gives him his first fighting lessons, and then King Kashu, who, I'm sorry, to this day, I swear it is his dad. I swear he's Parn's dad. They have the same color eyes, the same color hair, and beard around the same time that, and I mean, I swear, and the reason Parn doesn't recognize him is because it's been so many years, and he's changed his hair, and he has a beard and all that. I mean... Well,
I also think if you actually look at some of the earlier images, it looks like his dad, and I think maybe that might be it because maybe like they never say what happens to his dad. They never say his dad's dead. He's just a traitor. Well, what the fuck did he do? Did he change his name and just go for it? Who knows? And I kind of like that. I don't think. Do they mention it in the later series? I'm trying to remember now.
They never mention what happened to his dad. Allude to anything except he says your father would be proud of you, so that tells you that he knows Parn's father at the very least. But like, if Parn doesn't know that it's his father, then it'd be very easy for him to say, "Hey." But then one would say, "Well, why doesn't he tell?" Well, because if he reveals who he is, then people are like, "Oh my God, it's the traitor," and then Parn's life will be ruined all over again.
Well, it would ruin his life too, because remember, he's the warrior mercenary who came into a foreign country, took up the blade, and saved them, and now he's their king. So by doing that, and it's, by the way, it's the same print. Remember, that's the same ruler who stole the daughter of the other guy like years ago. That makes the most sense by him giving up his own title and moving on. It does make sense. And again, we can speculate this shit based off the way they role play this story. The way this story is portrayed, role play. I apologize, portrayed. Wanted to say role play for some reason. This works because of that. Like, and there's so much like with his and then you got the big bad in his story arc with the demon sword, where you start with two big old warriors going for it in this battle of old, where they have the two great swords that were created from the battle of chaos and light.
Yeah, they have the king's light sword, and then you have the other guy's dark sword. And pardon me, I'm trying to remember their names. I believe it's King Fawn and I don't remember the other guy's name. Let me do some Google. Help me out here, buddy. Let's see.
In the meantime, on a side note, this is why I believe we shouldn't have so many backstories or side stories, or it's more
works.
fun for a show to have for everyone to leave things to the imagination. Now everything's being diluted with side stories or origin stories.
Yeah, in a way it does work. And for all we know, actually, this is the thing. For all we know, I'm gonna get fucking 50 comments going, "You guys are morons." In the manga, they explain that that's actually his dad. Blah 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 blah. That's literally what we will probably get. I don't know if I'll get 50 comments. I usually only get like. Yeah.
We are going as people who have not read the manga, so I apologize if that upsets people. We are just we're going by the common nomenclature of what people would normally know. Not everybody.
Don't worry about the comments in my Discord. In my videos, we don't worry about the comments. Everyone's welcome.
In all honesty, with every anime, I guarantee you there are more people that have just seen the anime than have actually read that's where this video is coming from. And you know what? I don't care. I'm always for open discussion when it comes to my videos, except for you Ruby fans, because you're not going to be around in 4 months because your series is dead. Ha ha.
Ha ha.
I'm sorry. I do want to have a discussion about Ruby, because I do feel like I kind of got betrayed there. But anyway, back to the story. This story is the adventure that this guy, and in the end, he becomes the great hero. And that's the best way to put it. But it's a great hero's journey.
And
it's not perfect.
No, it's not.
I think if you love Luke Skywalker, you might love this character, Parn.
Yeah.
But honestly, the fact that it's not perfect is what helps make it timeless and great. Because if he had been a Gary Stu, which is the male form of a Mary Sue, if he had gotten everything right away, he would not be relatable. Hollywood. If he had been perfect from the get-go, he would not have been relatable. And so it's very important that we appreciate Parn's shortcomings, because it was through his shortcomings that we were able to relate to his struggle of becoming a better character. And
and this is why the hero's journey works. This is in a nutshell. This is why the hero's journey works, and this is why a lot of people don't understand. Like, what is the hero? Because the hero's journey works because of one reason and one reason only. Everyone can fucking do it. In a way, if you put the effort in, you work. Yeah, life can kick you in the balls, but if you really, really fight for it and really try and put the effort in, it can help. Not exactly. You can't be the best, but at least you could put that effort in, and that's the thing. But like I said, that's what this is. This is a hero's journey. He fights for it, and he doesn't give up, even when life kicks you in the ass. Like, yeah, it doesn't always work out, but that's more inspiring to people than anybody else on the planet. Like, that inspires somebody. When you find out this guy threw himself, a guy who had nothing, works himself like that's the hero. That's that underdog tale. That's the hero's journey everyone likes.
And he really does prove himself in the end, because Deedlit spoilers, Deedlit is literally being sacrificed to resurrect this evil god because they need the spirit of an ancient elf, a high elf. And so she's literally in the process of having the life drained from her. He's already been through a horrible battle. He's weak, he's tired, but he sees her down there. He grabs up the sword of his enemy and the sword of his fallen king, and he just dives down in that pit to save her. And then we get this glory shot of him holding her bloody body as he too has blood dripping from his head, but he's holding her alive in his arms in this amazing hero pose. And it's like, wow, that is the culmination of his entire journey. He saved the girl, he stopped the bad guy from being resurrected, and it's great. It's great.
Yep. It's great when it's what every DM wants at the end of his campaign. That's the best way to put it. It's like you're done, they saved the day, the heroes are heroes, and you can just walk away from it. And it works. It works. It really does work. And that is the tale of this show I actually kind of like. A lot of it is sacrifice, but it's sacrifice and then standing up for what you believe in sacrifice. It's a good show, and it's the true hero's journey. And it follows. Go ahead.
From another angle, they also have another classic narrative thing, which is they have mirror characters, also known as foils. You have Ashram, who foils Parn. Parn is a boy who is from humble origins, who's trying to prove himself. Ashram, it's kind of implied he had the same thing. He's living under the shadow of his king, though, whereas Parn is trying to work his way up to save his king, but also living under the shadow of Kashu because it's his idol or whatever. Then you have Deedlit, whose shadow is Pirates. Pirates is the female dark elf. And she is essentially evil. She is Ashram's love interest, much as Deedlit becomes Parn's love interest. And then you have Beld, who is the evil king that they are fighting for, who is the direct foil to King Fan, who is, it's light and dark. It is literally a battle of light and dark. You have Parn, who wears the light-colored armor, Ashram, who's in black. You have Pirates, who's a dark elf, and Deedlit, who's a high elf. And then you have Beld, who serves the god of darkness, and you have Fawn, who serves the god of light. And it's literally... Bells doesn't actually serve the god of darkness. That's not what I got from that. He's serving the purpose of the god of darkness, though.
Yes, he is.
Whether he's actually serving... He's playing into the hands of the plan of the god of darkness.
Yes. Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah. And that is a genius to have so many foils in one series and not actually have it undermine their importance or the gravity of their character is amazing writing.
Yeah. And like I said, in the end, it really does work. And it worked. That's the best way to put it. It was a really good story. Like that's the thing about this. We could talk about how there's moments and stuff. We can gripe. We can take nitpicks of an 80-year-old anime, of an 80s anime, the 80-year-old 80s anime. We're not that old yet.
Hey, you mean the 80s weren't 20 years ago?
Quiet,
it feels that way.
Quiet. It still feels that way, doesn't it? But no, it's not.
He's a Gen Xer and we're millennials, so we're like, to us, the 80s feel like it was yesterday, but everyone's like, no, it was like 40 years ago. We're like, shut up.
Shut up. Anyway, what do you want to rate this bad boy?
I'd have to give it different ratings. I'd have to say voice acting gets a 3 out of 10.
No. Let's put it all together. Let's put it all together and make one fundamental rating out of 10. Let's all be honest here. Are we going to say that this thing is cultural? If this is actually, if you're an anime fan, this is kind of a must watch. Yes, the OVA is at least.
Yeah,
because
it is definitely worth watching because of the impact that it has on anime as a whole, and because of its it relates to the like he mentions earlier, I believe, it relates so hard to the D&D crew that's out there.
Well, in video games as well, like Fire
Yeah,
Emblem, for
and
example, Shining
you know,
Force is another one.
it has such a huge audience that it can resonate with, from people who like fantasy books to people who like fantasy animes to people who play tabletop RPGs or even video games. It just, and there is actually a video game of it called Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth, which I don't know much about that, but
It's really good. It's actually surprisingly fun. And
but
it makes her a little too broken. Like she's nowhere near that power. She's nowhere near more. It's the same. I believe it's the same guy who did the Toru dungeon one, but that's its own different beast. So no, this is well done. This is it is actually culturally deep. But what do you want to give it as an actual base rating? Like, we can't deny that this is something you probably... This would be on my watch list of, like, animes you should watch before you die.
I would put it on a scale of 10, 10 being the best anime you've ever seen, and 1 being, never really watched if you want to. I would put it at a solid 8. Because even though the voice acting is lackluster in most places, the music and the overall musical score, the action, the character progression, even if the story was a little rushed, I would still put it at an 8 overall.
Dark, what do you want to put this at?
All things considered, now me personally, going back to the voice acting, to me there's a charm to it. Maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe I look at old amateur voice acting, the hit and miss days is with nostalgia. So I would give this a somewhere between 7 and 8. Let's say 7.5. And I believe that even if you're not a D&D fan, you should check this out just for the visuals. I think there's some anime that should be watched just for the animation quality. Love it or hate it. And this is among them, along with things like Street Fighter and that other movie, Origins. No, not Origins. Damn, I forgot the name of the anime movie, but not a good story, but damn, it was nice to look at. So, and I'm not saying this show is lacking in anything story-wise. I just think that, like I said, even if you're not into D&D, and this might not appeal to everyone,
it's definitely worth a watch.
It's nice to look at. And like I said, going back to character designs, how Nessie said each character looks different. Man, characters like Woodchuck, I feel like these animators had to learn how to draw every character differently. There's hardly anything that they share in their facial features. This must have taken a long time to make.
It really did. It really does look like it did. And so my rating on this bad boy, I'm going to give it about a 7. So we're to me, I got to say it. It's on my list. There are anime movies that are must watch. And there are anime series that are must watch. This is in that must watch series. If you're an anime fan, if you're a D&D fan, you have to watch this. This is up there. Like, if you play Dungeons and Dragons, Record of Lotus War should be on that list. Like, there is I believe I even did a video on that. I don't remember if it's still up, but I remember doing a video about must watch animes. I don't know if it went up. I think I did it with someone else. I can't remember if it's a part of my thing. I've done so many videos at this point, I actually don't remember. I think I have more videos. If we count the videos I lost due to that situation, I would say, I'm saying a base 7. There is a definite must-watch stuff on here, and it is one of those things. If you're a D&D guy, you have to watch it. And that's the best way to put it. I'd like to thank Nessie, and I'd like to thank Dark for joining us on this little adventure of mine. I appreciate you guys helping out. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hopefully this is probably going to be the biggest video I've done because I put the most effort into this one. But this one took a little longer than I thought. Next video on the list is probably going to be Slayer's Next because everyone voted for it. and I still have to do Voyage of the Demeanor, which keeps getting pushed back. I'm gonna sit down and really fucking work on that one. That one has to be done because I have to give my vampire fans.
Wait, are you doing the series called Slayers or Slayers Next? There is an actual season called Slayers Next.
Yes, I'm doing the second arc to the Slayers franchise for my original video, The Slayers Next. Do you want to be a part of that?
No, can't be. I have not watched enough of Slayers to have an opinion on it.
Okay, all right. Next time you see me, I'm probably going to be doing some smaller little videos because I got a couple other things I'm working on, and then we'll try to get the bigger ones out. Thank you, everybody. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Orc War Chief Reviews. Bye.